service, and I think I posted up. I think I posted up in the Lead Snap group just a method that I'd seen someone else put out there about telling the prospects or customers, that for every review the business receives, they donate a meal to Feeding America, the charity. So yeah, just put some of that messaging in, testing it out, and did get a review come through earlier this week for that. So that's
That is
that's
a
a win because
that's a great
yeah,
strategy. I must have missed that when it came through. That's something that I'd love to put in place.
yeah. So I just rolled out that for a whole bunch of our lead gens, and pretty excited to see how that's going to impact obviously rankings, but then just part of that automation process that we don't have to kind of manually follow up in some regard now. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for putting it together in LeadSnap.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Nice.
That's cool. And like let's not forget that the people it actually helps that are hungry, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 So,
Everyone wins.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I say this a lot. Like we'll never fully understand. None of us will understand the the breadth of our impact that we have, right? We just see like the connection one and not how it filters down, and that's pretty cool. Like the actual branches of the butterfly effect or the things we do, I think is way more impactful than layer one. For instance, like if you guys learn strategies from what we teach, and then that helps the business owner, and then the business owner can like take better care of their family, or maybe even spending money in their economy, and then that goes to those people and they can take better care of their family. And this is an example of that, Josh, with like you're getting more reviews to help the business owner, but you're also like there's someone that's hungry somewhere that doesn't have any food to eat, and they're getting a meal. And like I'll tell you, like when you're starving, that that means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple of
Yeah.
things to add on this. So, first of all, I had a call with one of my clients for my personal lead gen portfolio this morning, and she was just reflecting to me like I got her onto my program like right when she was starting a business with her business partners, and she's just like over the moon about like all the results, and they just had a baby and like all this stuff happening. And she said they call me Jeff the Angel when they refer to me in her company, because we basically have given her so much opportunity to get commercial work and other opportunities. And then on the other side of that, when I was in that leadership program last year, we had a charity thing, and actually Patrick was gracious enough to give to it and post it in on his Facebook, and we raised a bunch of money for one night. They challenged us to go and feed as many homeless people in Austin as we could in I think it was an hour or something like that, and we ended up raising. I think I personally raised $750, but I know that was because Patrick was a big part of that. And there were a couple of other people. I think Alec gave some money, and Spencer and some other
Chris
people.
Moore too,
And
right?
then, pardon me,
Chris Moore as well, right?
Chris Moore as well. Yep. And then for the main charity um, drive that we did, it was for a charity called Art from the Streets. And they provide a safe place for people who are on the streets to come and do like art therapy and different things like that, sell their art and whatever. We raised, I think it was $43,000 for that charity. And the gala is tonight. So after this call, I'll be going down and celebrating that. So always giving back, it just means so much. And like Patrick was saying, being able to give the opportunity for our clients too to be able to build a life for themselves. It's just it's amazing to be able to have that kind of impact. And we don't always know. So congrats, Josh. That's an amazing idea. I can't wait to see the feedback on it and see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of struck me too, because I think people, when there's a tangible, direct benefit, it's like for every review, we donate a meal. It's a very direct link where people who be leaving the feedback can see that. And then it's also easy for us on our end because with LeadSnap, we can just go and see the list of all the reviews that came through and just use
Right.
that to it's a 2 minute type of task to then do the donation every every month or every week just based on that. So it's good.
Right. Well, it's an innovative way, innovative approach, to this challenge that we all have. And so I think that's that's what I love about digital marketing. There's always another angle. So yeah, very
Very
cool.
cool. I think I see Ray Roman saying, does that strategy not violate Google policies for incentive for the review? I assume you're not asking for certain ratings just for review, correct? So I would assume that that's the case, that it does not violate it, because you're not really like giving them something, you're making a donation for something else, right? There's no other than like helping humans, which is kind of what the review is out there for, to help them make better judgments. I would feel pretty confident. Obviously, I'm not an attorney.
I would too.
Jeff is an attorney, but this is not legal advice.
Yeah, it's terms and conditions on Google. I mean, come on, like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about that personally. And I don't like, yeah, it's not like you're like paying them for it. Right. So,
Hmm.
okay, cool. So any other wins? Any other wins to share from the group? Do we have people that feel as if they were victorious in the last 2 weeks? Something cool to celebrate. It's good to see some of these faces on here. CJ tuning in from, where you at? Western Canada?
No, I am in Renton, Washington.
Renton,
It's pretty
Washington.
close.
It is. It's right in between Seattle and Tacoma.
To be honest,
Right.
that city sounds completely made up.
It, it might be. You just don't know, do you?
Yeah, so Jeff and I are gonna celebrate some wins. We had a fantastic
Well,
time
how about CJ's got a win? A
You know?
recent one within the last 15 minutes. What's your win?
I did. I did sign up for Rank Masters.
Woo-hoo!
I know this is part
Welcome to the
accountability. I was
club.
going to show up to the meeting, and I didn't want to. I told Jeff that I was going to do it, so that's what I did. Although you took my money, I don't have any sign in, and it's just
Yeah, it's a great program.
it is a great program.
Yeah, we'll get you squared away. We've
I
been
was
in
logging
SEO
into
spring
this.
training this last week, so it's been a little bit of a weird week for us in Rank Masters. Typically we're pretty dialed in with it, but we're gonna catch up and all the onboarding calls for the people that have joined in the last like week and a half. We've had a good influx now that we started pushing this program out. So we'll get you onboarded. I'll do so as a part of this, we do a 90-day game plan at the beginning and just really like think about what are the steps that we have to put in place so that we can get immediate results, right? So we'll get you all set up with that. Really happy to have you in the group. We're excited the changes that we're bringing in there and the structure and the results that we've seen over the last year. We're just kind of like keeping it close to our cuff before and like seeing people really start to win. And now having the opportunity, like we were talking about with the butterfly effect, to have like a bigger footprint, a bigger impact. So pretty excited for those. That's kind of like a win for us in our lives. I've had this conversation with people a few times. Like Rank Masters for me is probably my least profitable endeavor, but it is probably my favorite. It's just like getting to interact with people and kind of see them level up and see the changes that can happen. Like we have not had a Rank Masters event where somebody hasn't come to tears with like sharing the impact that they felt. So, if you can make them cry, you're making them happy, right? So, so really excited to be like building that up some more and being able to see people. Like our goal with Rank Masters, you haven't heard, is like agency, personal freedom through agency mastery. Like how do we allow people to build a business in a way that lets them do what they want and don't have like the personal and financial restraints. So pretty cool. We're happy to have you in there, CJ. It's going to be great. Ben Miller jumped in last week too. I think a few other people from this call I think have jumped in. I see Janeri's been in there for the last year. Alec Newmeyer, it's good to see you, man. Tuning in from the road. Keep your eyes on the road, not the phone. But we've got some wins from we had an amazing week this last week. We were at SEO spring training in Phoenix. Man, what an awesome event. I know some of you guys, we pushed it out, and I don't think except, oh, there's Terry Samuels. Terry Samuels was there. I don't see any other names that were out there with us, but man, you guys should try to go next year. That was one of the coolest events that I've been to. There's a mixture of like it was like a plethora of types of people, right? There was some agency like Josh Nelson from Seven Figure Agency came out there and spoke. Got to spend a little time with him. He's obviously running a big agency, and he's got a coaching program for agencies. And Adam McChesney and personal branding. There's a lot of like deep SEO knowledge that was dropped. To be honest though, I'm working on releasing as a part of my personal branding. I've been putting together patrickshannon.com to kind of like set up my branding, and as part of that, I've got to get my blog post. So like my first blog post is going to be about my experience with SEO spring training last week. And as I was writing the blog post, I was thinking about what really was my favorite part. What presentation was it? And it wasn't any of the presentations for me. It was like the VIP experience was fantastic. So that we got there, we went golfing. We went to a baseball game. Like they loaded everybody up onto a bus and took us, and they had 2 box suites side by side with like catered food. Absolutely amazing. We got to see the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Yankees, and they went into extra innings. It was just like, it was awesome. It was so cool having everyone in there. It was just like, I've never been, I don't think I've been to a baseball game in 15 years. I've never been in a box suites for a baseball game. I've been fortunate to have them in some other sports, but that was unbelievable. And, there's something to be said about when you've got people that are like, hey, they're paid to be in the VIP area because they're serious about business. And when you put these people in there that are serious about business, and there's food and the drinks are flowing and we're doing something fun, like we let down our guard a little bit and we start to share what's working for us. And this is worth, in my opinion, like if you're running an agency, if you're kind of like anywhere north of, I would say $5,000 or $7,000 a month, like it probably costs you money to not be around these people and hear some of the ideas that are shared, because there's stuff that $5 to $7 a month was a long time ago for us. And there were things in there that I learned from these people. Some of these people doing millions of dollars a year have done things different than we have. And just like in a casual conversation, they share a strategy, and you're like, or they say something and you're like, wait a minute, like you're doing this, and then you peel it back 3 or 4 layers, and it's hard to get that on a Zoom call. Right. And the friendships that you build in these, now there's probably 10 people that I exchanged phone numbers with that I've texted with since I've been home, where I'm like, I'm going to continue a relationship with this person, and we're going to probably spin off and go create like our own like Airbnb weekend with like 10 or 12 people. That's not like a Rank Masters or Lead Snap event. It's just some people hanging out, right? Where it's like those friendships where it starts out at like this, and it can develop into a business partnership. So it's, I was really blown away. It's obvious to me. You don't really know what the vibe is like until you're there. And with Terry and Elizabeth and Clint, the people who run the SEO spring training, I've been to all sorts of different events. I've spoken at different events, right? And the vibe for me was that it was people over profits, which is something that I always vibe with. And that was really cool to see. Like they catered everything. And they took people golfing, they took to the baseball game, they went to like the shooting thing. It was just awesome. The knowledge that was shared was fantastic as well. There were some things that when you're overwhelmed like this with like fire hose information for a few days, the challenge is selecting what parts and pieces you're going to really implement. I've got a lot of notes. We were sponsoring the event, so I wasn't able to tune in to all the sessions the way that I wanted to. I was trying to make sure that my team was like set up with what they like making sure they had everything they need while talking. And then I also spoke. I spoke at the event. So I gave a presentation, which I call the strategy session builder. And this centered around, this really centered around like how to close people using the heat map as well as like the analogies that are associated with it. So I'm gonna prepare that, and I can share this presentation with the group. You know, I think it's really powerful because when like a small shift in certain things can have a big impact, right? Like say your website's converting like 4% of the visitors. Well, if you convert 8% of the visitors, it's almost like you have twice as much traffic, right? You'll have twice as many leads with a 4% difference. And that's the same kind of thing with sales, right? If you're closing 20% of your sales, and then you get this kind of like very well-positioned framework of how to take somebody from a prospect into a close, like this can double the growth rate of your agency, right? And it's like just a couple shifts. After spending a decade playing poker for a living, like I realized that, like looking back, I didn't know this at the time, but looking back, I realized that it was great for sales because it's understanding humans in an incubator of like, okay, human interaction, you're getting constant feedback. I've played millions of hands of poker from online to live, and you learn a lot about human behavior when it's like, here's an action, here's the feedback on it. This person was acting this way and they did this. And then you do that for a decade, and then you go into sales, and then you combine it with the software that was built to help you close people. And you use like, so what I try to do is teach a framework of like, how do we take someone through a process? And a lot of it is analogies. This is like stories and analogies is what's going to sell a lot. And when you kind of can mix emotion and logic with like, hey, here's how you're ranking, here's how your competitors are ranking, and you can put some psychology in there. So part of my speech is like, well, do you know that, like, I mean, I could ask you, like, if I said, Josh Blakely, I took $100 out of your bank account this morning versus Josh, there's $100 laying on the sidewalk outside. One seems like losing the money. It makes it seem like it's more money than finding something of equal value. Like this has been proven time and time again in psychological experiments. So like, how do we frame that? Right. So if I know, for instance, that I'm in concrete and I know that the average garage floor is $4,000. So if I say, look, in this similar cities like this, we see 100 calls a month and our guys close about a third of those calls. So let's say 30% for simple math. So that's $120,000 in revenue, right? If you're operating at 40% profit margin, that's $48,000. What would you do with $48,000? So this is like showing them what it's like to have the money. What kind of advantage does your competitor have by gaining $48,000 that you don't get every month? Like, what does that look like 6 months from now? What is that going to mean for their business that you miss out on that they get? And how long can you stay in business while they're able to leverage that advantage? So there's the positioning of this and the psychology around it. So I dove deep in my speech on that and how to close people. So, I put myself back into sales. I think I've shared this with you guys. I'm trying to take myself out of it. So I've got a guy that I'd like to try out. But if any of you guys are interested in potentially joining our company in the sales role, or someone, we'll start putting that out because I've got to get myself back out of this. And now we've got great lead flow coming in. So I just had to establish some things. So we've got that stuff in place. And now like the strategy session builder is going to be one of the first things that our new salesperson will go through and make sure that they understand this and the analogies and stuff, because I put myself back into sales, and I'll tell you, we've been killing it with sales, right? Like when I think we've closed about 90% of the people that we've got on a strategy session call, right? I know that part of that's from like understanding humans on a a pretty solid level, and part of it is from like just having the reps and understanding the framework of like, use this analogy in this situation. Because if you get lost in the tech weeds, then you lose the person. They've chosen not to be an SEO. So don't speak SEO geek terms to them. And I think that's a big problem with the reason I chose to do it at this event with Terry was because there's a lot of SEO experts in that room. And there is this, like, in my opinion, out of balance where it's like you've got some of the top SEO people in the world and they don't run the top agencies in the world. They have from a skill set, there's parts of it that they have an amazing ability to deliver awesome results, but they don't have the parts that lead up to that dialed in. Like, and I actually showed in my presentation, those like video game characters where they'll have like the strength and the agility and the speed and like all these different, like there's like pellets. It's like, okay, this person's got 5 strength. And so it's like some of these guys have the SEO category maxed out, but we don't have a sales pipeline in place. So their agencies may be doing $5,000 or $10,000 a month, and they're in the like 0.01% of SEO. And it's like, how do we? So I thought maybe this could be a way that could really help them. I'm not 100% sure how many of them realized it, but that was a part of my speech, is try to like, hey, like what do you want for your life? Is like geeking out further on SEO the one that's going to move that dial, or are there other things that can help us, like have like more income to be able to remove us from the business and like live the life we want to, which obviously is in alignment with what we teach in Rank Masters is, personal freedom through agency mastery. So where are those gaps at? So, but it was a fantastic event. I'm trying to pull up my notes here so I can give some
Hey,
takeaways.
Patrick, as far as like sales, since you took over sales, like Q4 last year, what do you think the additional MRR has been since you did that?
I know, like, I spent a lot more time in January. So we added $22,000 in MRR, probably really started focusing on sales on the 10th, but I don't think I worked more than 7 hours in a week on sales. So we were adding like probably about $1,000 an hour for the time that was dedicated towards sales for January. February, we had multiple events to go to. We added a few more clients just with some conversations here and there. And again in March, pretty similar. Like, we've just been event after event where we ran our own event at the beginning of February, then we sponsored a 7-figure agency event. What you guys may not know, or maybe you can assume, is like, there's a ton of work that goes into getting ready for one of those events when you're running a software company. When you have a booth, you've got like all the merchandise and contest and landing pages and, like all these different pieces were really distracting us. And this is why I've got to get a salesperson back into our agency now that we've got the systems and processes and the lead flows and like the tracking and KPIs and all these other pieces that, like, Jeff was gunslinging because I hadn't structured this stuff for him. And I put myself back into it so that we could have somebody that could follow a system. And like, that's what allows us to scale, is like systems and processes, right? So I had to like get back in there a little bit and get that in there. But yeah, it's obviously been really profitable. This is not a good use of my time to be a salesperson in the agency at this point in my career, right? I'm CEO of 3 companies. I can't be doing sales for my agency. So, but like, this was the roots, right? So this is where it all started for me. And I'll tell you guys, there's a lot of you guys who probably think you're bad at sales and you just don't have the reps, or you don't have people raising their hand. And that's a different type of, like, if you don't have somebody raising their hand for your services, like, how do you know if you're bad at sales, right? You've got to have a pipeline that's bringing people to you, and then you could execute sales. Maybe you're bad at like prospecting and you don't have the pipelines in place to have people raise their hand, and you've got to do that. And then you can do sales. And then after sales, we can think about deliverability. And then after deliverability, we can start to think about retention, right? So it's got to kind of be in an order. And that's why in Rank Masters, we have the deal where it's like, hey, we'll help you close your first client, because we know that, like, it's got to start at the beginning, right? Sometimes people will go right to step 7 instead of like, going for what is needed now. So, sorry, I'm having a hard time keeping up with the chat. I don't know if there's any questions hiding in there, Jeff. I don't know.
Terry just posted something I'm trying to decipher right now. Link, SEO 25. This is the cheapest. For the next SEO spring training.
Yeah, the I think it's a 7 days or so. This for next year's event.
Yeah,
Um,
it's for 11 more days. I only wanted to do it for this group, and then obviously we have it in the spring training group. But yeah, so I have to run was the only reason I wanted to put this up here real quick. But if you guys have any questions or whatever, of course, reach out. Happy to help you any way you can.
yeah, awesome. These
Thanks,
these
Terry.
these are definitely good deals. Like $897, 1297, and oh, the VIP. I was like, holy shit, the 1297 for VIP, because honestly, you couldn't go and do the things, like it would be hard to do some of these things for that price. Like with between like the box access to a baseball game and like golf and shooting the guns and meals, it was like you're going to be you're probably in for at least 1200. And I saw that 1297. I was like, holy cow, I thought that was the VIP price, but that 1997, yeah, that's a fantastic price. And really enjoyed the event. A lot of great people in there. And what's cool is this community, you feel it just kind of like you do with like Rank Masters. There's a lot of love. And what we saw a little bit is the community will if there's some bad apples in there, the community will weed those people out. And they stick together. So pretty awesome event that I definitely recommend.
But anyway, I didn't want to
Yeah,
kind of spam the group or nothing, but I wanted to get you guys the opportunity. So I
yeah,
love this group, so it's my favorite.
appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, Terry.
Yeah, thanks,
All right,
Terry.
guys, I gotta run. I gotta go upsell one of my biggest clients.
Let's
There you
go.
go. Boom,
All right.
boom.
Have fun, guys. Thank you.
Take care, man. All right, let me see if I can get some of these notes pulled up. Jeff, do you have any shares that you wanted to mention from the week?
Yeah, and for me, it's always good to get in the room with people who have expertise in things that I don't. I'm not an expert at SEO. I know a thing or two. Probably I'm an expert compared to people who know nothing, but compared to the people in the room at SEO spring training, I'm basically like, level zero. So hearing their presentations, hearing about the different strategies, the different angles that they take, and again, that those different aspects of their expertise is it's really fascinating to see what's possible and just learning along the way and implementing some of these strategies even at a lower level, how much difference it can make in how we rank. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is like you don't have to be as much of an expert as some of these people are to get some of the benefits that they talk about. Our last mastermind, Terry Samuels, who was just on, he spoke about schema, and it's like that one thing, if you can create a process around it to apply higher level schema to your sites, the result of that, like Patrick was saying at the beginning of the call, well, what if you doubled or tripled the amount of leads that were coming in just by doing something like that? I think that's possible even with that one strategy. So taking some of the things from these other presentations that are things that are not as well known, I think, in our side of the sort of where we came from, rank and rent lead generation type model, and seeing what makes sense to us, and maybe doing a few split tests and seeing what works, and then saying, okay, well, this is worth the this amount of resource so that I can get the benefit or potentially get the benefit out of it. I think just continuing to up level that way is a great approach to take. And pardon me, you can't be in every room, and this is definitely something that would be, I think, rounding out that kind of digital marketing lead gen skill set. It would be a little bit on the further edge of it because it is so SEO focused, but pardon me, but still dealing with allergies from Phoenix. But the value that can come out of something like that is extraordinary. So, um, yeah, I really enjoyed the event, getting to know people who I haven't been directly connected to in my network, and of course, repping the brand LeadSnap. in the back of the room, and seeing how people react to the different tools that we have in the heat map and the different lead management um, tools that we have in LeadSnap, because a lot of the people in that room, they haven't been exposed to stuff like that because they are so focused on the SEO specific tools. So all of it just kind of comes to expanding your network, expanding your circles of influence, expanding your circle of knowledge, expanding, the ultimately the possibilities by going out and meeting people, listening to what other people are doing, and taking the bits and pieces and applying them to your own business model so you can improve what you're doing and excel. There's so many different aspects of digital marketing. It's absolutely crazy, and there's a million ways to put those pieces together and make it successful. So it just kind of depends on your own personality and your own appetite for risk, and what your resources are like. There's so many things that go into it. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can be hard to choose the right sequence of what to do. I think that's where people struggle, is there's all this stuff that we can do. Like, what should we do to max? Because what we do next matters a lot, right? It's like if you're trying to build a business and you focus on the wrong thing, then like you can just be like your feet are in concrete because you're doing the wrong thing. I think this is the biggest problem that people have is they don't do things in the right order. And it's what can we do today? And one of the biggest ones for me is Adam McChesney. So Adam, a lot of you guys know him. Some of you guys, he came from the same group that we started out in. I remember doing coaching calls with Adam when he was at like 10K a month. And he joined this heat map contest that we did where we taught a prospecting method, and he went from 10 to 25K a month during that month. And he has blown up his business, and he credits, and I agree with him, a lot of it to personal branding. It's like that's his pipeline. And he's gone from he had his agency to like merging with Height, and now he's no longer a part of that, or he's like working through an exit of some sort. I don't know all the details of that, but what happens is his personal brand is going to come with him. The fact that he sold his agency or isn't like moving on to a different part of his life, like his personal brand comes with him. So it's like so valuable to have this personal branding. And he was talking about it, and I've got some notes here from it. And he was just talking about like some basics that we can do that almost nobody does, right? We know to go to the gym, and we know if we go to the gym 5 days a week, we're going to be healthier. But the fact is 95% of the people don't do it, even though we know it. And that's the hard part. It's like the hard part is not like you don't have to walk through fire. You just have to be consistent. That's it. That's the requirement, is just be consistent. What a world this is. Like if you think about like when I was playing poker for a living, the edges were so small. And you look at like a professional athlete, right? They don't have to just show up. That's not enough. They've got to be the best within the best, right? For them to be successful. For us, we're not professional athletes. And it's because we don't part of the reason is that, like, if you had tried to be and you showed up and you did all these little things, you would have a better opportunity. You probably have some talent too, but in a world where we're competing against other agencies, like, to be successful, you can guarantee and predict success if you just show up and do what you have to do. So like, it's as simple, like Adam, I've got the notes here. So the blueprint for success, he does 2 posts a day, 7 days a week on the different social media platforms. 80% of the content has nothing to do with what he's providing. He does 1 reel per week and 1 live. He adds five friends each day, and he supports the new friends and referrals and connects different people. And this is part of what's taken him from, I've got his numbers here. He shared these during the event. And in 2018, he was at $0. At the end of 2019, he had made $9,000 in the business. So 2 years in, he's got $9,000. At the end of 2020, he had 150,000. 2021, this is where his branding started to take off. I think he had 750,000. 2022, he hit 1.7 million. In 2023, he had 2.25 million. So, like this comes from this posting. Like, are those numbers? Like, throw in the chat if those are numbers that you would like to do. 2.25 million. Obviously, there's parts that he's doing on the back end, but this is what he declares as the foundation. Post 2 times a day, 7 days a week, 80% of the content, nothing to do with what you serve. 1 reel per day, 1 live per week, 5 new friends, support the new friends. So supporting new friends is like reaching out to them, making a connection, not trying to sell them something, just introducing yourself and talking and looking for opportunities to provide value, connecting them. If there's a way like, hey, you're struggling with this, here's this person. And like, so he's adding these friends and then he's posting stuff. He's posting things that are engaging and they start to like them for who he is. I know that I have this friend who like kills it in the real estate marketing space. I think he's doing 5 or 10 million a year. His name's Tim Shermack. And most of Tim's posts are like for the realtors, like they have a similar strategy, but his posts are very like engineered to their value posts. They're posts that show the value of the realtor. So he has this post that always goes viral where it's like shows a little kid returning the shopping cart at a grocery store and like how that's important and like teaching to do the right thing. And it's nothing about being a realtor, but they create this like attraction to the character. And then this is somebody we want to do business with. And that's what Adam's doing here, where 80% of the content has nothing to do with his service, but he's creating stuff that shows his character and that he cares and like, you know, it's inspiring and this type of stuff. It's so simple. Can we do it? Can you be the person that's going to get up and go to the gym, 5 days a week? It's the same thing, right? And this is why when I go to these masterminds, especially when I go to higher level masterminds, like the masterminds where I'm spending, $2,000 or $3,000 a month to be in, and you go to those and you'll notice that the people that are at the masterminds, a lot of them are in good shape because they're doing the same. They're like, consistency is consistency throughout their life, right? So I don't know who originally said it. Maybe it was Frank Kern or somebody. Like, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And if you can start with the small things and just be consistent with like a little thing, and then you can add more stuff on it, it gets easier, right? There's kind of like a willpower muscle and a consistency muscle. You start to form new habits and these things stack up. And the high performers, they've got multiple of these stacking up, right? I went to the gym at a Dan Martell event at 6 a.m, and there's like 50 people in there. I've been to a lot of hotels and I haven't been to it's very rare to go into a gym at that time and see the whole thing full where you're like waiting for machines at like 6 a.m. Just like, what the hell? Like, I thought I was going to have this place to myself. Oh, I'm dealing with a bunch of people who have like organized their life and have consistent routines that lead to success, right? That's what it is. Can we show up? Like, I would love to hear, in the chat if this is having an impact on you, like, are you guys willing to do this? And I can like, maybe somebody can paste this in here. Adam's recipe, right? Isn't it brain science, right? We're not talking about like crypto trading techniques and all this other stuff. It's 2 posts per day, 7 days a week. 80% of the content has nothing to do. One reel per day, 1 live per week, add 5 new friends, and then actually build a relationship with the new friends. And like, it's so simple. Like, is this something you guys can do? And I think a lot of us, we start to think about what our friends are going to think, right? It's like, that's the hesitation, is where we got that little like, am I going to do that? Like, what are they going to think? Well, 80% of it has nothing to do with your business, right? And if these people are judging you because you're posting stuff on there about business, like, how good of friends are they to you anyways? Like, do you really care? Like, I'll tell you, I don't know how many friends on Facebook, but I'll tell you, I don't even know who 90% of them are. And I could care less what, like, almost all of them think, right? I'm doing things for good intention. If somebody's going to sit back and judge me for it, well, like, whatever. Like, let me find other people who want to swim with me and aren't trying to like grab onto my feet and hold me down. Because, what most people do to try to stop you is they have this idea of a version of yourself and what you are, And when you deviate from that and they haven't deviated from their own, they're in their own little box, they start to think like, you can't do that because they can't do it. They don't believe in themselves. And this is where the haters come from, right? There's a saying that the loudest boos come from the cheap seats, right? So like, if that's what's holding you back, just shrug that off and don't worry about it. Life's too short to worry about that type of shit, right? So
one of the
Adam,
things that I was going to mention, right as you were starting on that, part of it is that, a lot of these people, we come in and we're listening to what they have to say, specifically like an event like SEO Spring Training. It's like, one of those people might have the solution that can break a logjam in your business. We never know where that's going to come from, or they just have some kind of insight, some piece of the puzzle. You started talking about Adam, and he's just really gone deep into personal branding, and that's what the path that he chose, and it's worked out really, really well for him, and he's getting a lot of success from that. um, One thing I realize is, like, no matter how much these people seem to be like at the top of their SEO game or at the top of their brand building game or whatever, you get in the room with them and you realize they're just regular people. Like, they're just like you and me. They haven't done anything else beyond taking the action, beyond setting up that process that gives them the ability to repeat what they're doing, so that they can get success from it. And so any of these things are available to all of us. And then you get into like the higher level people, like, Dan Martell. Clearly, Adam's not Dan Martell. Like, none of us are Dan Martell. Like, he's operating at a different level. And Patrick and I have been blessed enough to be in the room with him over the last couple of years and multiple occasions and situations, and see how he operates in real time, to see how the team that he has behind him, to hear the way that he has his life structured and the resources that he has available to him, so that he can optimize every single piece of his life and remove every single thing that does not suit him or serve him, and operate at the highest levels in his zone of genius as close to 100% of the time as possible. And then when he's not working, he's having fun. And usually when he's having fun, he's networking. He's hanging out with other people who are playing at his level in various different ways. He's hella skiing with the higher level groups of people, or he and I think his 7 best friends and their families, like, they pitch in and go get a yacht and cruise around Croatia for 2 weeks or whatever. Like, he can do stuff like that because he has the rest of his life set up in that way. So those are aspirational things for all of us. But at the end of the day, when you talk to Dan, he's just a regular dude too, and he just started applying process to his life to get more and more success and results, and then outsource all the crap that he doesn't want to do and just keep optimizing. Continuous optimization, I think, is what it's all about. But like, I think any of that is available for all of us.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the same way I feel is seeing it. And sometimes you got to see it, and then you kind of start to realize where the gaps are. And we can get comfortable with the gaps where it's like, well, this slight difference here and this slight difference here. And then you kind of look at this in totality, and this is why we are where we are, because there's too many of these like cracks in our processes or our discipline around it. And like, ultimately, like, hey, it's not about money, it's about the freedom. And what I realized is, like, by being a little bit more planned, by being more disciplined, you actually get more freedom. It's when you don't have the planning, then you're left to scramble, and you're left without options, right? When everything's like set up, then it's just like it follows the thing. And that's why, like, Dan is the most structured person that I've ever met, but he also spends most of his time doing things that he enjoys, right? Because he's taken the time to be intentional about the stuff. So yeah, it's and you see a mixture of this. You can kind of start to feel it, if you are, what I've noticed, like, here's an example is like, if you're trying to plan out a call with somebody and you're like, hey, are you free Wednesday at 3? And they're like, no, how about Friday at 4? Well, from my experience with people that have their day structured, that conversation never goes that way. It's more like, hey, here's my calendar link. these are the times that I have available. And there's certain habits that I notice that are just always present. Like I'm never gonna get on Dan Martell's schedule by like texting back and forth with him to find a window time open, because that's not how high operators operate, right? They're like, when you're going to have a conversation with somebody that is on a schedule, they're like, here's the agenda for the call, and I've got a hard stop, and it's like it's just every part of their life is kind of set up, and they're professional about it. You got to treat your business like a business. That was big for me when I was playing poker. I read this book about like treating poker like a business, and there was all these things that I wasn't doing that I started to do, and then it had a massive impact on my income when I was like, I've got to treat poker like a business and follow these processes. If you want to make like professional ball player money, you've got to have like that attitude, and you can't keep giving yourself the like it's okay, like this, like, all right, it's like the way out, right? Just hold yourself accountable, hold yourself responsible. If you want to move up and you want to like improve your life, then things have to change, right? It's not going to be based on you doing the same thing. So you've seen it time and time again. But some of the speeches that I went to, I'm going to kind of run through this quickly because I've got to be off here in about 11 minutes. So Terry Samuels with his speech on advanced schema, and he talks about siloing and the importance of internal linking. He went deep into internal linking and how like he never sends a link from any of his other pages back to his homepage, which I don't think I had that set up correctly, because you've already got a link in your footer to your homepage or through the logo or the home button or whatever. Like it kind of like the internal linking structure that he went through was really good. Make sure your sitemap sets a last update, and looking at your queries and Search Console. So what else we got? He dove deep into some like advanced schema stuff, which was fantastic. He's a big believer in the press releases. I don't know if you guys are still pushing those. We need to push those more in our platform. He talked about like the schema and the advantage of schema. It's not really going to take you from like ranking fourth to ranking first, but what it will do is it'll take you from like having 10 keywords to 30 keywords. So like he uses schema to put all kinds of things that you wouldn't want to put into like the actual text. So for instance, if in your niche there's a common word that's misspelled, like you don't want to misspell the word, but you can put the misspelling into schema, right? Or you can start to mention some of your competitors in the schema. So Google built schema as like the way to understand websites. So they read it very well. And if you structure things correctly, then you can start to rank for things that you don't mention on the page that you don't want to mention, like your competitors' names, which I thought that was really fantastic. And there's different types of schema that he went through, such as like same as, which are like things about me. So for instance, like Patrick Shannon maybe's misspelled with a K a lot of times, and I could be like, hey, this is the same as this situation here. So you could use that same as and knows about. So these could be like, I know about maybe like software development, right? So I could put that in a certain type of schema, right? Or I know about my competitors, right? For LeadSnap, I know that there is an inferior competitor called Local Viking. I know about it, right? And maybe that's not a fact, but maybe that's just an opinion. But maybe it's an educated opinion. So Terry Samuels, he went deep into that stuff, right? Really expert SEO guy. Mike Merlino, I have a news flash for you guys. If you guys don't know Mike Merlino, this may not make sense, but if you do know, the breaking news was during Mike's speech, he did cuss. He did say some cuss words. That's what he did, right? Like maybe he's known for that. So really entertaining, really engaging, really like if you haven't had the chance to experience him, like brilliant guy, brilliant SEO. He really knows his stuff, and it would be easy to, like we've seen, there's a lot of people that you wouldn't that maybe like would judge Mike, like judge a book by its cover, where it's like, hey, there's this guy from New York that cusses, but he like, don't be fooled. Mike is very, very intelligent, great heart. We got to see that quite a bit during the weekend. And he shared a lot it's kind of hard. I don't want to dive and divulge things that he doesn't want exposed. And that part of that is like, hey, get yourself to the SEO spring training next year. But he talked a lot about how big brand is for the Google My Business, and like, making sure that you're doing like branded search, branded keywords, getting the topical local authority, citations, mentions, the press releases, all these different things. He talked to, like, I kind of like didn't realize this, but when you do a search on Google, like let's say I search Miami and there's like these red lines that kind of show up on Google Maps. Well, that's where Google thinks Miami is, right? So that will have a big impact on your searches. With like, if your Google My Business is not in this area and you're trying to rank for that, like maybe you're going to have a hard time, because Google thinks it's where those red lines. You guys know what I'm talking about? Is this, give me some head shakes here, or is this, yeah, is this making sense? Okay, yeah. So that was kind of like insightful. Another takeaway was like, I'll just like share my screen real quick if I can get up something that doesn't have a bunch of proprietary stuff here. Let me just say I do like plumbing company near me. Bad example. Hold on. Plumbing company, West Palm Beach. Okay. So they were talking about this and sharing this. I'll share my screen now. Hope it's this one. All right. So they were talking about influencing their ranking and kind of doing it in this order, like based on the search, like this is going to be kind of the priority order, right? Is maps, images. So like shopping and video. So like videos, what they're saying,
we're just seeing your messenger, Facebook Messenger.
Oh man, that's private, guys. I forgive you. Okay, that window. Can you see this now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this order right here changes based on the search term of this, like maps and images and shopping and videos. So basically what it's saying is that images is more important than videos for this. That's what some of the guys were talking about. And I never thought about this stuff. I just kind of like see it up here. So like influencing these search results, the maps will influence it. That makes sense, right? For this term. And then images can have a big impact on this, because they're trying to prioritize things from left to right based on this search term and what matters most. So that's like something that was simple that like I heard a couple people like talking about that I'd never even considered. So that was kind of interesting to see that. Let me see here. Who else we have? Josh Nelson, I've been in his group and I've seen him speak a bunch of times. So a lot of this stuff, like he was giving a general presentation, right? So for me, it was a lot of like review, but he was talking about his pathway to 7 figures. Really, really love Josh. Like, I mean, just great heart and just really knows his stuff, helped a ton of people. A lot of the stuff that he's teaching, I wish I would have known about his group before I figured out a lot of it. And I still learn a ton of stuff from him, things that they do differently. But just like the pathway to 7 figures, and he and I are in complete agreement. And like the process starts with like landing clients. And, he went through a number of different strategies to do that. So, client outreach, inbound marketing, associations and speaking, joint ventures, all kinds of stuff like that. And then he talked about like agency funnels and like how you've got to create something for people to opt in, and you've got to have like the follow-up stuff in place. So obviously we have big pieces of this is part of like how we set up LeadSnap. You getting a commitment from the person when you start the conversation, like, hey, can we make a commitment to move forward in the next couple of weeks, and then honor that commitment. So if they don't, if things aren't moving forward, like kind of like verbally, almost not in the relationship, but let them know like, hey, we agreed by April 10th that we were going to have a decision or move forward. It's April 10th. It seems like maybe this isn't a great fit. But I wish you the best of luck. And he said that doing that has actually helped them close when they like kind of like almost are taking it away because these people aren't responding. And then you put that out there, you get that commitment up front, and then you kind of like follow up with them. And there's something to be like being held to your word that can help people move forward. So he talked about like, after they confirm for appointment, having like a video and testimonials and making sure that you have that like hot lead follow-up. And he does something cool that I didn't know he did. This is the first time I heard it, is like, when you have this like appointment, send them something in the mail, right? Sending them something physical that can show up at their address can really separate you. What other marketers are doing that? And you become a real person, and you separate yourself from this like plethora of decisions. Most of the time, it's pretty easy to figure out somebody's address. If they're a business that's doing like 500K a year, a lot of times you're going to have an office of some sort or like a way to find them. There's other stuff out there that can help you, or you can just ask them if you don't have the ability to do it. So I thought that was really, really cool. And then like using Facebook to retarget people that are in your funnel that you haven't closed yet. Why not be showing them ads on Facebook for a couple bucks a day? You can show this, you can stay top of mind, you can let them feel like they're dealing with the real deal. So that was really, really good from Josh. Gregory Ortiz, he talked a lot about client retention, and he made a book recommendation that I'm going to read. I was really impressed with this guy, Gregory Ortiz. He talked about unreasonable hospitality. And he talked about so the book was called Unreasonable Hospitality. And it's like unreasonable, like way more hospitality than someone would expect. That's what's unreasonable about it, right? Be the overbearing girlfriend with information for your client, right? Client updates, you can send your client updates on algorithm updates and improvements to the agency, new hires that you've made, updates on their account, right? All kinds of stuff. That's what it means to be the overbearing girlfriend. Like, you're not going to lose a client because of a lack of communication when you take this. Like, you're dialed in, you're talking to them, you're continuing to build the relationship. A customer success newsletter, once a month, and sharing other client success stories with other clients. He went through this and he talked about how the retention rate went from like 50% to like 80% with a cohort that he taught these strategies to. We had the guy Dixon. It's kind of hard. Like, I learned a lot, but it's kind of like hard to put it into words. Dixon Jones. He's part owner of Majestic. So that's a pretty high level guy to hang out with. That guy was over from England. And then we met Elias, who is the owner of SEO Autopilot. Really cool guy. He was over from Greece. So people from all over the world. It was an awesome time. A lot of new friends. And there's a lot of stuff that we'll be, I think, sharing. As we experiment with some of these strategies for the things that we're able to share. Some of the stuff is like, hey, you got to be there to get it. And I'm not going to like shortchange Terry and the conference for the secrets that were shared there, and then bring them back and just make them public to everyone. So just kind of sharing some high level stuff. And there's some stuff that I have in my notes that I'm not going to share unless you were there. Like maybe that's a motivator to be there next year. But some things I think you got to play close to the cuff and protect the integrity of the people that shared it. But it was an awesome event. Jeff, any final thoughts before we close out today's meeting?
Man, it's like drinking from a fire hose when you're at these events, certainly. But like I said before, it's like you can pick up little bits and pieces that can move your business forward, and sometimes have conversations with people where they just mention something and it just makes sense. And then it makes it all worthwhile. But to try to convey everything that happens at one of those events is crazy. I mean, certainly all of the side conversations, the relationship building, getting to hang out with somebody like Dixon, for a couple of hours at the bar or over dinner or whatever. That stuff it's just always a lot of fun to continue to build relationships and networks in the digital marketing space. And, I tend to follow up, more than I ever have after going to many events over the past few years, and keep, pretty good, kind of like, CRM, if you will, of the people who I talk to, and just, so that I can continue to reach out to those people over time, add value, deepen the relationship, and have a real powerful network that is my net worth. It's like that's what they say. So, yeah, I'm just continuing to lean into that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was Matt Zimmerman there from Zemwriter. That was cool to hang out with that guy too. There's
Yeah, he's
just
cool.
it was cool. There's a lot of, as a SaaS founder, it can be a lonely road when where it's like there's other SaaS founders out there, but like they can be harder to get to than like an agency owner, especially as the SaaS grows. So running into some of these guys who have built stuff that's known all over the industry. And what was cool is I had no expectation to be recognized by these guys, and even if they knew what LeadSnap was, and they did, and that was a really cool feeling for them. Like, hey, are you Patrick Shannon with LeadSnap? And I'm like, oh man, like I didn't know that anyone. Like, I don't know. You don't know who's going to know you. You're not going to make assumptions unless you're like cocky, and that's not the box I fit into. I'm assuming they don't know us, and when they do, and they're like impressed by what you have, and you didn't even know that they knew you existed. That's an awesome feeling, and that was a win for me to have made an impact on some of these people that have had a huge impact on the agency space. So, and getting to meet them in person, and now we've exchanged cell phone numbers and going back and forth. So, yeah, so super, super cool. But yeah, all right, guys. Well, that's gonna wrap it up. I've got to jump on a call actually with Matt Zimmerman. So we're gonna chat a little bit more. So, I hope you guys have an awesome week. If you guys are interested, and we're going to be releasing our event here, like hopefully this week or the beginning of next week, trying to get those details all dialed in for end of July in Orlando. And it's going to be an amazing event. If you have any interest in joining our awesome community, Rank Masters, if you want to level up your agency, we really want to build that community with awesome people. And I like looking around at the faces on this call. It would be great. It would be great to see some of you guys more often in that group, and be like able to dedicate the resources that are needed to really help you guys level up more than just like a weekly call. So, all right, guys, have a great week. Go out, create some wins, and we'll see you soon. Appreciate you guys.
Take care, everybody.